This evening, first up, the $100,000 cash grant portal is almost ready. Finance Minister Ashni Singh says the launch date is coming soon. Tonight, what you need to qualify and what to watch out for online. More than 200 drivers are about to lose their license. Some racked up as many as 21 tickets. The demerit point crackdown is here, and authorities say this is just the beginning. Plus, a new diplomatic headache. President Ali fires off an official protest to Suriname over charges on the Corentyne River, warning that cross-border trade and business confidence are now at stake. Meanwhile, 2 police officers under close arrest. The investigation into the death of Jordan Payne while in custody at the Cove and John police station is intensifying, with a post-mortem set for Friday and the public demanding answers. And a landmark ruling in Los Angeles. A jury finds Google and Meta negligent for building platforms that hooked a young girl and damaged her life. Tonight, a verdict that could change social media forever. Those stories and more coming up. Stay with us. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for March 26, 2026. I'm Vivi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, the rollout of the government's highly anticipated $100,000 cash grant is drawing closer, with the online registration portal now in its final phase of development and testing. Senior Minister with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashni Singh, confirmed on Wednesday that the platform is being fine-tuned to ensure a smooth and accessible experience for all Guyanese. He noted that an official launch date will be announced soon, urging the public to rely only on verified information and avoid misinformation circulating online. The portal will serve as the primary gateway for citizens to access the grant, which has sparked widespread public interest amid ongoing cost of living concerns. As part of the government's broader digitalization push, all payments will be made through the banking system. To qualify, applicants must be Guyanese citizens aged 18 or older as of February 28, 2026, possess valid identification, hold a personal bank account, and be physically present in Guyana at the time of registration. The distribution of cash grant is expected to inject $60 billion directly into the economy, as part of the government's commitment to ease cost of living pressure and provide direct cash transfers. The grant follows a similar nationwide rollout in 2024 and forms part of the government's ongoing efforts to support households and stimulate economic activity. In other news, more than 200 drivers in Guyana are facing license suspension as authorities move to strictly enforce the demerit point system in a bid to curb repeat traffic violations. Traffic Chief Mahendra Singh, in an interview with the newsroom, stated that the process of initiating legal action against offenders commenced on Wednesday, with cases being prepared for review and submission to the relevant licensing authority. Under the law, drivers who accumulate 10 or more demerit points can have their license suspended, regardless of whether they paid their traffic tickets or challenged them in court. Singh said many of the pending suspensions involve motorists who repeatedly paid speeding tickets without contesting them.
Some people who have not been taking that e-ticketing system seriously, take it seriously. Take it very, very seriously.
Some drivers have accumulated as many as 14 to 21 tickets, Singh disclosed, adding that the current list targets those with 5 or more offenses, with stricter penalties likely for repeat violators. He explained that improved technology now allows the Ghana Police Force to track and consolidate traffic violations more effectively, ensuring stricter enforcement of existing laws. Once the process is finalized, affected drivers will be notified through the Ghana Revenue Authority and required to surrender their license for a specified period. Reinstatement will only occur after the suspension period has ended and the necessary procedures have been completed. Authorities say the move is part of a broader effort to promote road safety and ensure compliance with traffic regulations, warning that continued violations will attract stricter penalties. On a different note, a new dispute is emerging between Guyana and Suriname, as President Dr. Mohamed Irfaan Ali has formally objected to charges reportedly introduced for the use of the Corentyne River, warning that the move could disrupt cross-border trade and business confidence. In his statement, the head of state described the development as troubling, particularly for key sectors such as timber and quarrying that depend heavily on river access. He said the government of Guyana has already lodged an official protest with Suriname's authorities and is awaiting a response. President Ali emphasized that the issue was raised in the spirit of dialogue and mutual respect, noting the importance of maintaining strong bilateral ties between the two neighboring countries. However, he cautioned that introducing such fees risks creating unnecessary barriers to commerce and could undermine long-standing arrangements governing the river's use. The president also underscored that Suriname's businesses have historically operated freely in Guyana, benefiting from an open, non-discriminatory environment. In that context, he stressed the importance of reciprocity in maintaining balanced relations. Guyana is now urging Suriname to urgently review and reverse the measures, warning that failure to do so could negatively impact private sector development and strain cooperation between the two nations. The matter remains under diplomatic engagement as both sides seek a resolution. Stick around when we return. Airport security nets suspected raw gold as two Canadian Guyanese passengers detained, and man remanded over brutal stabbing of teenage mother also faces sexual assault charge.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. A formal investigation has been launched into the death of a 30-year-old man while in police custody, with two officers now under close arrest as authorities intensify their probe. The Ghana Police Force confirmed that its Office of Professional Responsibility has begun investigating the circumstances surrounding the death of Otis John Jordan Payne of South Haslington, East Coast Demerara. Payne died while being held at the Cove and John police station on domestic violence charges. As part of the investigation, multiple police and civilian witnesses were questioned and statements were collected to piece together the events leading up to his death. Authorities also confirmed that two ranks attached to the police station has been placed under close arrest and are currently assisting investigators. The police force has assured the public that the matter is being treated with the utmost seriousness and all standard procedures are being followed to ensure a thorough and impartial investigation. A post-mortem examination is scheduled for Friday, March 27th, which is expected to provide further insight into the cause of death. The incident has raised concerns about custodial safety as investigations continue into what led to the man's death while in police custody. The Ministry of Home Affairs has called for calm and assured a thorough probe, while residents and political figures continue to demand transparency and accountability. Moving on, a routine airport security check at the Chedichagan International Airport has led to the discovery of more than 15 ounces of suspected raw gold, triggering a joint police and customs investigation. The suspected yellow metal was uncovered during screening procedures around 7 a.m. on Thursday morning. It was reportedly found in the carry-on luggage of a 62-year-old man and a 59-year-old woman both Guyanese Canadian citizens who were preparing to travel to Toronto, Canada. Following the discovery, the pair were detained by customs officials for further processing as authorities launched an investigation into the origin and intended export of the metal. This suspected raw gold was weighed in their presence and amounted to 15.5 ounces before being secured by officials. Police say investigations are ongoing as they seek to determine whether the individuals had the required documentation and whether any laws governing the export of precious minerals were breached. In other news, a 28-year-old seaman has been remanded to prison after being accused of a violent attack in which a 15-year-old mother was allegedly stabbed about 25 times and sexually assaulted. Christopher Ali appeared before Magistrate Michelle Matthias at the New Amsterdam Magistrates Court on Thursday, where legal counsel did not represent him. He is charged with attempted murder and sexual assault involving a teenage victim who is also the mother of his child. The court heard that the alleged attack occurred on February 24th along the east bank of Berbice. Prosecutors objected to bail, citing the severity of the injuries, the risk of flight, and concerns for the victim's safety, noting that the accused lived in close proximity to her. Police also stated that Ali fled the area after the incident and was later apprehended after weeks on the run. He was reportedly beaten during his capture by members of the public before being handed over to authorities. In court, Magistrate Matthias denied bail, referencing the seriousness of the offenses and the potential threat to the victim. Ali was remanded and is expected to return to court on April 16. The teenage victim sustained multiple stab wounds and was hospitalized following the attack, which has sparked concerns over violence against young women and intimate partner abuse in the community. Don't go away after the break. U.S. jury finds Meta Google liable in landmark social media addiction case, and CARICOM welcomes UN resolution.
Problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world.
Good evening, I'm Dominic Gittins. Tonight, CARICOM welcomes a UN resolution declaring slavery among humanity's gravest crimes. Ecuador struggles to control prison violence. A US jury finds Google and Meta negligent over harm to young users. And Iran rejects Washington's proposal to end the conflict. We begin in the Caribbean. The Caribbean community has welcomed a United Nations resolution declaring the transatlantic slave trade and chattel enslavement among the gravest crimes against humanity. All CARICOM member states supported the Ghana-led measure adopted on March 25th. The resolution calls for reparations frameworks and promotes remembrance, education, and justice. CARICOM says the decision marks a major step in recognizing historical injustices and advancing global efforts towards reparatory justice and healing. For years, rival gangs have fought for control of Ecuador's prisons, sparking massacres and riots. 2 years ago, the army took over around a third of the facilities in an attempt to curb the violence. Al Jazeera's John Holman reports.
These soldiers are lined up for a regular search on Women's Prison No. 2 near Guayaquil in West Ecuador. The army's taken over many of the country's prisons in an effort to restore order. They've given us rare access to going with them. The army's told us that we have to put on bulletproof vests and also the helmets when we go into the prison. And we asked them why, and they said there are weapons inside. Once they get in, they look everywhere. Mattresses ripped open, belongings all over the floor. These soldiers are looking for things that aren't allowed in the prison, but specifically they're looking for cell phones where inmates can call the outside world, and they say do things like extort the population. They're also looking for drugs, and they're looking for weapons. The hiding places can be ingenious. Inmates can hide phones in the actual wall, and then they put some soap on it to seal it back up, and then they paint it back up. So that's what they're trying to find now. For years, prisons have functioned as command centres for the country's gangs to run their operations and extortion rackets. That's led to brutal battles for control of them. The country's seen over 15 prison massacres in the last 5 years. Endemic corruption among prison guards hasn't helped. That's why 2 years ago, the army took over. There's about 700 soldiers at the moment that are in this prison, and what they've told me is that they change out about every month to try and avoid them from being basically corrupted by the inmates. This is only part of the militarization of Ecuador over the past 2 years. Daniel Noboa, the president, has sent the army onto the streets to try and stop the gangs fighting. So far, it's failed. The homicide rate in 2025 was the worst on record in the country. After an initial drop, the riots and massacres continued in prisons too. Although the inmates I managed to talk to said that things here are calmer since the army took over. Their biggest problem, they say, is that the soldiers have cut the food and medicine coming in.
They have completely reduced the food. The medicine is really limited, and the medical attention since the soldiers came in is zero, because even though they're in charge of us, they can't come close to us or touch us.
Human rights groups say that's happening across army-controlled prisons, and that malnutrition and sickness have been the result. A recent tuberculosis outbreak killed hundreds. But Ecuador's doubling down on the strategy. It's just opened a new maximum security prison as it tries to bring gangs and the prison population under control. John Holman, Al Jazeera, Guayaquil.
A jury in Los Angeles has found Google and Meta negligent for designing social media platforms that are harmful to young people. The lawsuit was brought by a young woman who says platforms like YouTube and Instagram contributed to her addiction at an early age. Al Jazeera John Hendren has been speaking to the families affected.
For many parents across the U.S., the court ruling came as a welcome recognition of what they've long felt.
For them, for the big tech executives, I want to say something. Stop blaming the parents.
A Los Angeles jury found that major social media companies harmed a young user known as Kaylee with addictive design features that damaged her mental health. Facebook and Instagram's parent company, Meta, was ordered to pay $4.2 million. YouTube must pay $1.8 million. And that is likely just the beginning.
It's really validated, but a complete validation of what we've been screaming on the top of roofs about for years. This was not this was a conscious decision that they made. It was not an accident. And parents are not to blame. That's for sure.
In a statement on X, Andy Stone of Meta wrote in part, "Teen mental health is profoundly complex and cannot be linked to a single app. We will continue to defend ourselves vigorously as every case is different, and we remain confident in our record of protecting teens online." The companies say they will appeal. After all the appeals, if companies like Facebook change the way they offer their services to young people, it could alter not just their bottom lines, but the experience of modern childhood itself. That landmark case is expected to open the floodgates for thousands of lawsuits, many already in court, filed by parents who say their children suffer from social media addiction. Parents like Lori Schott, whose daughter Annalie died by suicide.
She lost her sparkle, she lost her light. It was telling her about anxiety and depression and, making suicide seem like normalcies.
The case, modeled on the successful lawsuits against tobacco companies, argued that the social media apps are defective products that lead children to misery and sometimes death. John Hendren, Al Jazeera, Washington.
The Trump administration has sent Iran a list of conditions to end the conflict, but Iran has already rejected the 15-point proposal, leaving the United States to weigh up its next move. Al Jazeera's Richard Gisford reports.
He's the president who always wants to win, but to do that in Iran, does he need to change his approach to the game? The ball is in play, and Trump's presidential seal is stamped all over it. With what many perceive to be an unclear strategy, the president might be about to reshape his support team and his tactics to try and achieve a rare hole-in-one. It's reported Donald Trump's golf partner Steve Witkoff, his special envoy to the Middle East, and son-in-law Jared Kushner could be handing over lead negotiations to J.D. Vance, who's seen as a skeptic about the war.
Our interest, I think, very much is in not going to war with Iran, right? It would be a huge distraction of resources. It would be
that was less than 2 years ago. Could the vice president now be the man to help end it?
Nobody likes war, right? And I guarantee the President of the United States is not interested in getting us, in the kind of long-term quagmires that we've seen in years past.
The rising price of petrol is certainly fueling disquiet across America. Opinion polls and pressure from industry and big US companies could mean domestic issues dictate a change after what's reported to be indirect communications with Iran. Any future direct talks would centre on the US desire to end Iran's nuclear program, for it to remove ballistic missiles and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Iran will demand guarantees that the war will end permanently, ask for economic reparations, and that it will maintain control over all its territory. Whether the Americans, though, can contain and control their Israeli allies is the key question.
President Trump believes there is a possibility to leveraging the mighty achievements obtained by the IDF and the U.S. military in order to realize the goals of the war in a deal that will preserve our vital interests.
As calls grow around the world to de-escalate a conflict that's crippling oil flows and economies, the president continues to talk tough.
We're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out.
The end of the 5-day pause coincides with the arrival of more warships and thousands of US Marines in the region. As it pushes for peace talks, America's strengthening its military presence in the Middle East. All options are on the table now as President Trump gets ready to make his next move. Richard Gaisford, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Thanks, Dominique. This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the Street Weather forecast. And that's it to BP Headline News for this Thursday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You can tune in tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. for a rebroadcast and at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other.
God bless you.